All right, welcome back to another episode of Travel Ball Talk. I'm your host, Rich Prado, owner of Play in School. Today we're heading up to Texarkana, Texas, to talk with Brett Usrey, owner, founder of Texas Freedom, and the new upstart Twin City Postgrad. Brett, welcome to the show, man. How you doing?
I'm good, Rich, man. Thanks for having me.
You got it. You know, before we hit record, I was just kind of joking around with you. We just had Brett Carroll from BCA down in Knoxville, Tennessee, on the call, and when I scheduled to talk to him, I was under the impression he was just running a postgrad. Come to find out, he actually also runs a postgrad and a travel ball organization. So he kind of like surprised me with that. And this whole week leading up to today's call with you, I thought you would be the first guest who runs postgrad and travel ball. So he beat you to the punch on that, but that's okay. We're going to find out all about Texas Freedom and all about Twin City. Before we go any farther, you are officially the first coach who's a guest on Travel Ball Talk who I actually filmed in Dallas, Texas, January of 2012. Brett was playing for a coach, Derek Brando, who had us fly out to film his crew. It used to be called Texas Red. Does that sound familiar, Brett? Texas Red? Is that what it was?
I think it was Texas Sports Red.
Texas Sports Red. And Derek was a big old fella out of Ontario, Canada, who ended up pitching in the College World Series in 1990 for Oklahoma State. Super nice guy. And, fast forward 10 years, almost to the day, and here we are sitting on this call. So a lot, I'm basically doing the exact same thing I did 10 years ago, and here you are, all grown up. You were a little kid back then, and now you basically got these two businesses in the baseball world rocking and rolling. First thing I want you to do is talk to us about, from that day when we filmed. Give us your baseball background, and then tell us about Texas Freedom, and then tell us about Twin City.
Yeah, absolutely. So I was playing with Derek back then. I'm from Texarkana, and we're about 2.5, 3 hours from the Dallas area. And back then, there really wasn't any travel ball in my area. So, pretty much if you wanted to do anything past kind of rec ball, you had to go to Dallas. So I was on that team, and I think we figured I was maybe a freshman or a sophomore when you came out and filmed me. I was probably 140 pounds, 6 foot, 140, real little kid. Derek actually saw, that my upside was on the mound, and worked with me a lot there. He was kind of instrumental in he was the first guy that told me, hey, you could play at the next level on the mound. And I really didn't believe it, being kind of a young kid. But kind of from there, I really started focusing on baseball. I played football and I played basketball, and kind of from that point on, I was like, hey, maybe this is something I can actually do. I kind of got serious in the weight room. I never really loved football, so I dropped that first, and then shortly after that decided to drop basketball so I could focus just on baseball. I didn't like the whole idea of you play basketball and you get in the playoffs, you miss 2, 3, 4 weeks of baseball. So I quickly dropped basketball too. And then baseball was my main thing. I started playing year round, playing for Derek. Texas Sports Red kind of went away, and I started playing American Legion baseball, which is kind of what had become prominent in the Texarkana area. And so I was playing that, and that was 19 and under. So I did that. I was playing high school ball. And pretty much my junior year, I started getting some looks because I'd kind of filled out, and I'd actually got to go to some tournaments and get some exposure. Started having some visits into my senior year. And actually I had committed to a small school in Arkansas called Williams Baptist. And that was after going on visits to several D2s, to, JUCOs. I never quite got to see one look, but, or at least not the serious look. I had some coaches I talked to a little bit, but never anything serious. And so I'd committed to Williams early in my senior year. And I'd always kind of had arm trouble, shoulder trouble. And I think a lot of that was due to, I went to a very small high school. And from the time I was a sophomore on, we really only had 2 pitchers. and I mean, I also was a position guy. I played shortstop. I played kind of all over the field, but I always pitched too. And it was before the strict pitch counts here in Texas. I mean, I think there was a pitch count, but it was astronomical. And it was one of those deals where, I was the Friday pitcher and the other guy was the Tuesday pitcher. And pretty much you knew going into your game that you were throwing the whole game. Win, lose, or draw, you were throwing the whole game unless it was just terrible. And that was just part of being at a small high school. And it's just what I did. I wanted to win. I was young. I probably should have spoke up and said, look, my arm's not right before my senior year. But my senior year it really got bad. And I ended up, telling my coach, hey, look, this is bad. I can't throw. The day after I'd pitch, I couldn't throw at all. It got to where in practice, like I said, I was starting shortstop when I was a senior on top of pitching. They would have me not even throw during the week at practice. So I literally wouldn't. Yeah. I mean, I literally wouldn't pick up a baseball until Friday when I'd start pitching. And then I'd pitch and then wouldn't pick up a baseball again until the next Friday. And it got to where it was just, I was in a ton of pain all the time. And toward the end of my senior year, I was just over it, man. Not over baseball by any means, but I was just over the constant, honestly, just pain. I'd gone to the doctor and kind of found out what it was, and it was something with my tendons in my shoulder. It was nothing that I could have surgery on, so it was one of those, you just have to either play through it or not play through it. It wasn't going to get a whole lot worse, but it was going to be painful. And I did that for a long time, but I just kind of decided there at the end that I was kind of done with my playing career at that point. So I took a year off basically, and didn't do much with my shoulder. Just went to school. Year 2 rolled around, and I went to a little D2 here in Arkansas, SAU, Southern Arkansas University. I say little; they're always nationally ranked in Division II baseball. But I was going to walk on there. I kind of knew the coaching staff, and because from back when I was being recruited, thought I was going to walk on there, and I just never got my arm right. It just I rested it, but it never got back full strength to where it was. I wasn't throwing as hard as I was before. So eventually I decided to kind of hang up the cleats, if you will, and pretty much I just jumped straight into coaching. I mean, literally I was still in college. Right when I stopped playing, I was like, look, I have to be around the game. I'm not ready to be away from baseball. I have to do something to still be involved, even though I can't really, play at the level I was playing at. So that's when I kind of jumped straight into coaching.
And what did you start? What did you start coaching? Were you coaching high school ball, travel ball?
So I started coaching American Legion. It was actually the team that I had played on.
Okay,
before.
Cool.
And there was some younger guys. They had a 17 and under team, and then also a 19 and under team.
Mm-hmm. So
I actually knew by this time some of the 17 under guys were up and 19 and under. They were 18 or 19. Then they basically begged me to come coach them. So that's cool. Kind of how it started. They're like, man, you got to come coach us. Like, please, come come coach us. And I was like, oh man, that sounds perfect. It just worked out. It kind of fell in my lap.
Was it hard coaching kids who were, I mean, basically the same age as you, or just almost the same age as you?
Yeah. I think I would kind of try to overcompensate when I was young like that. Kind of like not like demand respect from them, but like I felt like I had to do a little too much when I really probably didn't have to.
Yeah.
But for the most part, I got along with everybody. I mean, I really didn't have many problems. There was occasionally there'd be a parent or something that thought they could, kind of bully me around because of my age or whatever. But really, I mean, it really wasn't. It was really a good experience. And I jumped right into it. Everywhere I went, we were playing some good teams, and it was kind of the first year we took American Legion teams to good tournaments. Like typically they would just play American Legion tournaments, and there wasn't all that many of them. And so we were playing like 2 or maybe 3 tournaments a summer back when I was playing.
So the American Legion team would jump into what we now know as these travel ball events?
Yes. So before I got there, they weren't doing a whole lot of it. Mm-hmm. There was one other American Legion team in the area, and they had done a few travel ball tournaments. And 2D had actually started up at this time, or just started up, like brand new, just started up in Louisiana, and we're spitting distance from Louisiana.
Yep.
So I actually somehow got an email from someone at 2D asking to bring a team, basically advertising their tournaments.
Yeah.
And I was like, you know what? We're only playing 3 tournaments this year. I was like, why don't I take this team over, and play in one of these tournaments? And so I started emailing the guys over at 2D, and I was like, hey, we have a 19 under team. I know your tournaments are 18U, but we have a 19 under team. We only have 1 or 2 guys that are actually 19. Pretty much our team's 17 and 18-year-olds, minus 1 or 2 dudes. Mm-hmm. And they were like, man, that's fine with me. As long as you don't bring out some 19-year-old that, was at, the University of Texas last
yeah.
throwing 96. They were like, it's fine. So I started bringing them to some 2D events, and we were very competitive, and that kind of grew that. And then for the next several years, that's what we did. We'd play like 1 American Legion tournament, and everything else was pretty much 2D events because, I knew they let us in. I kind of developed a relationship with those guys over there.
That's
how they ran things.
That's Ross Blankenship, if memory serves me right, and 2D has absolutely exploded. They do a good job, and they were primarily over in sort of that pocket, but they keep growing and keep spreading all over the country. They do a good job.
Absolutely, and we're even now, like we're sending our teams. They host in Florida. We're sending them. Last summer we sent our teams down to Panama City for one of their tournaments. This year we're sending them to Pensacola for a 2D event. So they're definitely growing. I know they're up in Tennessee, Memphis. They have events in Memphis, Tennessee. Every weekend out of the entire summer there's events there in Memphis.
So you did mention how close you are to Louisiana. If you're an East Coaster like me, you might not be too familiar with the map. I've got it pulled up. Texarkana, Texas is, what'd you say, 2.5 hours from Dallas. It's in basically the northeast corner of Texas, right on the Arkansas border, and spitting distance from both Oklahoma and Louisiana. So if you draw a circle, maybe an hour in circumference off of Texarkana, you're talking about hitting 4 different states with easy accessibility and I'm assuming a lot of baseball players.
Absolutely. I mean, it's kind of a hotbed where we're at, to be honest with you. And I've found in Oklahoma, especially, there's not a whole lot of travel ball until you get up to kind of central Oklahoma. So down close to where we're at, there's a lot of kids looking for travel ball or looking for opportunities to play at the next level. Same thing with Louisiana and Arkansas. I mean, everywhere. It's a really good area for travel ball. Texarkana actually hosts a travel tournament every year, and they pull they pull kids or teams from all 4 states, and it's one of the most competitive tournaments that we ever go to.
Now, fast forward us a little bit to the foundation from your time coaching American Legion. How much time was there from the start of the American Legion to when you founded Texas Freedom?
So I coached American Legion for about 4 or 5 years, and I kind of was going to take a step back. I met my wife. We had my son, and I was like, this is a good time. And I was working a full-time job. I was working at a bank at this point. I was done with college. And I was like, I'm going to take a step back, take a year off, spend time with my family, not travel so much, and not really coach this summer. And I have a guy that I'm good buddies with that actually coached for another large organization, the Arkansas Sticks, nationally, pretty nationally known now, Arkansas Sticks. And he actually, funny story, he actually coached a team. It was kind of an individual team, but he coached a team back when I was playing, and wanted me to play for him back then, and that's kind of how I started getting to know him. And then I started coaching American Legion ball against him. And anyways, he joined the Sticks, and he was like, "Man, we've got a couple teams here, and we've got enough for another team." He was like, "Are you sure you want to take the summer off?" He's like, "You can come over and coach for us. We can pay you a little bit. Lots of talent, really great tournaments." And he worked on me for about 2 or 3 months, and I tossed it back and forth with my wife, and she was like, "Oh, I'll just go for it." She knew I wanted to because I couldn't stay away. So I started coaching for the Sticks, and I only did that for 1 summer. Learned a ton through being with the Sticks. I mean, they're a great organization, obviously. I mean, nationally known, win some of the biggest tournaments around. Great guys over there.
Headed up by a guy named Chase Brewster. I've never met him. Chase, if you're listening, hit me up. Come on the pod.
Yeah. He's a great guy. He's actually from the same town I'm from, here in Texarkana. And so that worked out really well. He and I got together several different times, when I was with them. But I really liked what he was doing. So anyways, fast forward another year, and my wife and I are having another kid. So I've got my second kid on the way in 2 years.
Yeah.
So now I'm kind of in the mindset again of, I don't want to have to drag my wife and these 2 young kids all over the place. Also, I don't want to have to be going and being away from them every weekend for 4 or 5 days. I need to be home with them. So again, I wasn't going to coach, and I kind of told the Sticks, I'm going to take a year off. Maybe I'll come back the following year. And they were cool. They wanted me to coach, but they were cool with it. So then my buddy, who actually lives in Dallas, he and his cousin wanted to coach a team still, because he helped me when I was with the Sticks. He was kind of my assistant. And he was like, "Man," he's like, I kind of still want to coach. He's like, I know you don't really have the time, but he's like, "I want to coach." He said, "I'm not as great with recruiting these players into the organization, as you are. If you could help me get some players, that's all you got to do. You can do that from home. I'll coach the team, me and my cousin." So I was like, "Sure. I can do that," because that's kind of what I enjoy doing anyways. So I end up basically recruiting his entire team, and he decided he wanted to call it Texas Freedom. He and I kind of both put our heads together and said, "Yeah, we'll call this Texas Freedom." It was just going to be one team. So I got his team together, honestly, pretty easily, just from guys that I knew, and just this area being kind of a hotbed for baseball talent and kids looking for teams. So then he was like, "Man, we got that team together pretty easily." He was like, what if we get a second team from my cousin to coach? So that way I just have a team and my cousin has a team. So I was like, "Man, I'll try, I'll see what I can do." So I reach out to a few different people, and within probably a week and a half, 2 weeks, we end up filling a second team. So So now it's 2 teams, and we're rocking along. And some of the guys I used to coach several years back reach out to me. They're in college now, and they're like, "Hey," and they actually live in Houston, and they're like, "Hey, 5-Tool has a league here in Houston, and a college league, college wood bat league." They're like, "Do you think you could help us, put a team together under y'all's new this Freedom umbrella that y'all have?" I'm like, "Yeah, I think maybe we can." And I knew they had a lot of connections too, playing college ball. And that team basically put itself together because of the 4 or 5 guys that wanted to play originally, knew so many guys, and I knew you, and we ended up getting that team together. So now we have 3 teams. Well, then we got some interest from some younger guys, from a lot of 16, 17-year-olds. And this is all year one. This is all year one. So we end up putting that team together. And by this time, more interest is building, and we ended up with like 7 teams the first year.
Gee,
and
out the gate.
And my buddy's cousin ends up not being able to actually be as big of a part of it as he originally thought he was. Just life happens. So my buddy was kind of like, "Man, do you want to just go in and be kind of partners on this deal and us head it up, you and I." He's like, "You don't have to coach a team this year. I know you've got the 2 little ones and all that." And so I'm like, "You know what? Why not? I mean, I don't have to coach a team. Pretty much all I was worried about was the travel anyways." I was kind of like, "Let's do it." So I was kind of all in from there, and our college team started up, and we were blessed. Our 5-Tool college team there in Houston was very talented. I mean, we had pretty much our whole pitching staff was D1 arms or JUCO guys that were already committed to D1s. Our lineup was insane. We had our center fielder for that team was at Texas A&M for the fall, and ended up going in the spring to a JUCO. But I mean, he was unbelievable, and he was I'm gonna say the best player in the whole league down there. And we started getting crazy coverage from 5-Tool. They have a huge presence on social media, and we were winning games left and right. We only lost 1 game and tied 1 game in that league down there. So that kind of got us a lot of coverage. And then our high school team started up, and they were in a lot of 2D events, and they were doing really well, and we got a lot of coverage there. And it kind of leapfrogged, into this year. And this year, honestly, for the summer ball, I didn't have to do much. I mean, we had kids, just reaching out to us and signing up and wanting to play.
Sounds like you found a spot geographically that just had kids who wanted to play ball. You didn't have to fight and scratch and claw, or steal kids from other places. So hey, Texarkana for the win, man.
Absolutely. And that was one of my big things when I started doing this from the sticks. I told those guys over there, like, "Look, I'm not going to take any sticks kids. The only kid I would even consider taking from the sticks would be a kid that said from the beginning, like, I'm, for whatever reason, I'm not going to go to the sticks this year. Will you please take me?" Mm-hmm. I'm not going to reach out to any sticks guys. And that's really the main competition around here. Besides the sticks and us, there's really not a whole lot else. There's still a couple American Legion teams, but they play more local. Yeah. So it's kind of a different animal. But yeah, I mean, you're 100% right.
Now I gotta send people over to see this logo. I think there's a lot of cool logos in travel baseball. You might have the coolest logo going. You got to go find at TX Freedom 643 is the Twitter, and the website is txfreedom.net. If you can visualize, is a home plate with the head of an eagle in the middle and 3 stripes on each side, which sort of make the wings of the eagle. Red, white, blue color scheme. It is the coolest logo. I'm digging it. I need a t-shirt. I need a hat. I need a poster. I need the whole deal. It's really cool. So go find at TX Freedom 643 so you can see that logo. I love it. So, as we hinted at earlier, you know, I actually originally found you because you're starting up a new post-grad program. And, man, by sheer coincidence, the last several episodes, or not all of them in a row, but I'm having, all of a sudden, a lot of post-grads are popping up. I'm having a lot of post-grad guys on the podcast. I'm partnering up with a lot of post-grad guys over on the platform. So that's how I sort of found you, Twin City Post-Grad. Brand new. You're recruiting for players right now. Next year will be your first season on the field, right?
Yes, sir. August 2022 was when we'll kind of kick off.
So I think this will be, you know, let's get inside your head a little bit so that, you know, I'm sure there's somebody out there who's listening to this who's sort of like, you know, wrestling back and forth in their head going, maybe I do, maybe I don't. What were sort of some of the thought processes that you were going through over the last, say, 3, 6, 12 months leading up to, you know, pulling the trigger? I know your website's not even up. This is like breaking news, brand new. It's, you know, this is still fresh. So walk us through, like, you know, how did you come to decide to pull the trigger to make Twin City Post-Grad a reality?
So kind of through my travel ball experience and seeing what my guys have gone through in their first year of college, I've had a lot of kids, good players, you know, 17, 18 years old, go to college their freshman year. And, you know, there's 100 other guys there. You know, there's a ton. Even before COVID, it was like that to an extent. But now that COVID's hit, you know, these roster sizes are just enormous,
exploding,
and a lot of guys. Yes, even at the junior college level, you know, you've got kids in their 4th year of junior college baseball, and you have 17 and 18-year-olds right out of high school trying to compete against them, and it just, you know, it's just hard. And these kids just aren't. No, I'm not saying all of them. Some of them, you know, you have your rare guys that are ready for that, you know, that are, you know, physically mature and, you know, and all that good stuff. So I'm not saying it doesn't exist, but just the average high school senior, graduating high school senior is not quite ready to compete with those 22-year-old, 23-year-old guys, whether it's junior college or a 4-year. And kind of, when I got the idea, was all my guys, or not all of them, but a lot of them texted me, you know, in October saying, hey, coach, you know, there's 100 kids here. They're making cuts. They're making red shirts. Like, I mean, pretty much their whole team from last year came back. Like, is there any other schools you think you can help me get to? Because I'm not going to play here. And it wasn't just one kid. You know, it was probably 75% of the guys. And, you know, I'd seen some post-grads. There's actually a very successful post-grad in Melissa, Texas, which is kind of an outskirt of Dallas. It's TCS post-grad.
Oh, yeah.
And I'd kind of seen what they had done. I had several guys actually play for my college teams that had gone to TCS for a year. And it just seemed like the perfect time with COVID. You know, there's nothing like that in this area, you know, around Texas, Arkansas, like the Texas-Arkansas border, or even in Arkansas at all. And so that's kind of why I finally decided to pull the trigger on it.
Yeah. You referenced TCS. That's Logan Harrington. Logan's going to be on the podcast soon. TCS post-grad, arguably one of the models to follow. So much so that you just referenced it as, you know, hey, look at that. Let me see what I can do. Great guys, a lot of success. He's doing big things over there in the he's in the Dallas area, I believe. Yeah, Logan, good dude. He'll be on the call soon. So literally, website will be going up soon, and now the key is you got to go out and find 25, 30 players. and be ready to compete in the fall. Once you get these 25, 30 players, walk us through sort of like, date, say week one. What's week one look like for Twin City?
Right. So the guys are going to move in August. August 1st. We're probably going to give them the week.
Paul, you got pause there already. I'm already going to interrupt you. Moving in where? Or you got dorm situation or an apartment?
So we have two different apartment complexes that we're working with here in Texarkana. All of them. One of them is actually walking distance from our facility that we'll be using.
Cool.
And the other one is probably a mile and a half from it. All very close also to the junior college that our guys will be able to take classes at if they choose to. And these apartment complexes are giving us a discounted rate for as many guys as we're bringing to them.
Nice. And
also have kind of agreed to do 10-month leases versus the 12-month leases, so our guys aren't having to pay through the summer, when they're not going to be there anyways.
That's a good move. That's a good move. Okay, so they're moving in day one and then continue.
So probably, they'll move in early in the week. That Friday, we're going to have a team. That first Friday, I'm looking to have, a team meeting, kind of introduce the whole coaching staff, because that'll be the first time they've met everybody. Pretty much right now, I'm doing all the recruiting. We do have a quote-unquote head coach hired to, full-time coach the team. But right now he's coaching at a college, through the spring.
Mm-hmm.
So he's obviously not doing the recruiting or talking to the players or dealing with the players at this point. So, it'll be pretty much this summer before he even gets to start reaching out to any of them. So the first time he meets them will be then.
Yeah.
So, kind of a team meeting the end of that first week, and then that next week we jump into practice. I mean, we'll start practice. We have our facility, our indoor and our gym, 40 hours a week. Every week we have access to it. We'll be in there in the mornings for, about 2 hours every morning lifting.
Is this a facility? Cardio. Is this a facility that you own, or will Twin City be renting space from somebody?
So this particular facility we don't own. The facility we use for our summer ball is smaller. It's just cages, couple cages, and a place to pitch. This facility is like a 51,000 square foot facility. So it's got the main like gym or workout space, which is enormous. And then it's got locker rooms with saunas and steam rooms and physical therapy down there, and yoga. Lots of different classes are offered with complimentary classes through the personal trainers and stuff there, spin classes, all that kind of stuff. Also has 2 different swimming pools, a lap pool that we'll actually use that's heated, so it's warm all year long. We'll actually use that for some of our workouts. Our guys actually have 24/7 access to all of that with their fees that they pay.
Nice.
And then connected to that is kind of our indoor, and it's I believe it's 15,000 square foot, and it's turf, 100% turf. It's got cages, it's got mounds, it also has like 8 squat racks, weight racks, and all that. So that's the area that we have up to 40 hours a week.
Nice.
In there. So we'll be lifting in there and also doing, agilities. There's bands and boxes and plyos and medicine balls and you name it, pretty much it's in there. So we'll be in there in the mornings for a couple hours, Monday through Friday. Then we're going to give our guys a few hours to go to class, if they choose to. Some may not take classes. It's definitely not mandatory, but go to class or do your online work or whatever, and then we'll meet at back at our home field, about 2:00 in the afternoon, and we'll have on-field practice from 2 until pretty much whenever we finish, 4:30, 5.
This is a good time to remind if a parent is listening out there or a kid who's thinking about going this route, the post-grad programs, which are becoming an unbelievable resource for kids to essentially buy another year between high school and college to get bigger, faster, stronger. If if you don't have to do any school, but if you choose to, you have to stay under full-time hours. So you have to stay under 12 credits. So most kids are going to do something like maybe 3 or 6 or 9 credits. So you're literally talking about 1 or 2 or 3 classes. You could do it locally, in person, or you could do it online. I think I bet you most kids are going to end up going online, and because you can be pretty flexible, especially with your schedule. But this is get bigger, faster, stronger in the morning. Go knock out some schoolwork if you got it, and then let's head to the baseball field in the afternoon. Well, I mean, you got to love it.
Absolutely.
You got to love it.
Absolutely. And to your point on the colleges, we're right here around 4 different states. We have a community college here in town, and we also have a 4-year university, but you're not nailed down to go into either one of those 2 schools. If you're in Louisiana and there's a college there that's offering you, free tuition or a full scholarship or something, take that, go online, if that's what you want to do, make it as affordable as you can.
Absolutely. This is such an incredible thing. We've seen it over in the hockey world. Now we're seeing it in the baseball world. We're going to give these kids a chance to get more physical. It's just you're going to go in ready to compete. I love it. I'm all about the post grad thing, man. If a kid or a parent is listening and you're looking around. If you're near those 4 states and this thing seems interesting, definitely reach out to Brett to find out more. He's going to be looking for guys already. I mean, let's see. Today is January 7th. I'm going to put you on the spot. You have any guys already ready to go with you?
We don't have any signed yet. I've done probably 20 visits already, where kids have actually come and checked everything out.
Nice.
And I have more lined up. I have one tomorrow actually, and then I have several next week. I have several that I have a strong feeling that they're going to come to us, but it's one of those things where post-grad's still kind of a new deal, and kids are kind of holding out, it seems, through kind of I'm kind of projecting mid-spring, I think, is when we'll start getting a lot of the majority of our guys committed. Yep.
And the thing as we've seen post-grads for the last couple years, there's been a couple cycles of a bunch of them kind of spinning up. What I'm finding out is that Christmas break is actually a time when roster sizes expand. So be on the lookout for that, where you may go into the fall with, say, 25 or 30 guys, and then all of a sudden you go into the spring with 30 or 35. Because apparently what's happening is kid goes to XYZ University, finds out they're 12th on the depth chart, or just doesn't like it, and they just say, hey, we're gonna sort of pull the ripcord here and head home, and then all of a sudden they jump into the post-grad program so that they continue to stay sharp. Again, get bigger, faster, stronger. So cool.
Absolutely. Seeing that literally every day. I couldn't tell you the number of calls I got in October and November this year from guys wanting a place to go. And I'm like, man, if we already had the post-grad up and running right now, I'd have a perfect spot for you.
Exactly. So listen, let's I sent you a handful of questions. I want to hit a couple of those because I love getting everybody's different perspectives on the same questions. I always like starting with sort of the softball. What book, movie, website, what resource do you think every coach should be learning from right now? Do you have a favorite book or go-to movie or a website you're binging on every day?
Man, I'm not a huge reader, but actually somebody with the sticks put me on this book, and I'm actually reading it right now, and so far I absolutely love it. It's called The Ride of a Lifetime, Lessons Learned from 15 Years as CEO of Disney. And it's obviously the guy that wrote it was the CEO of Walt Disney Company for 15 years. So it's a really good one.
That's
besides
awesome.
that, besides that book, I'm a big podcast guy. I've kind of recently gotten into podcasts. I've listened to yours, a lot of yours. The ABCA podcast is really good.
Yep.
It's just, for me personally, it's good listening to other coaches, other guys that have been there. I'm still pretty young in the business, so to be able to, listen to guys that have been around and doing what I'm doing for, 20 more years than I've been doing it.
Mm-hmm.
It's great for me. And I think it's great for anybody, even if I was the same age as them, to be able to look at, other organizations and other programs that have had such success and listen to some of the things they're implementing. I mean, I've learned a ton from that. And it's easy. Just, you're out mowing the grass, put your headphones in for an hour and be that much smarter when you're done.
Bingo. Bingo. Yeah. I have some buddies who they'll call me when they have a long drive. I'm like, dude, I like talking to you and stuff, but man, you could be learning something right now. Let me introduce you to this podcast. And they still haven't learned that app. It's like, you know what I mean? It's like once the light bulb moment happens with the podcast world, it's like down the rabbit hole. Whatever interest or fascination you have, there's a podcast on it, and you can learn everything there is to know in the whole world through right in your earbuds. So very, very cool. Let me jump around a little bit. Here we go. What's because you've gone through this a couple times in the last couple of years. What's one piece of advice for a coach who's sitting at home and they're thinking about doing the things you're doing? What's one piece of advice you'd give someone who's thinking about starting up a team or an organization, or in this case, a post-grad or a travel ball organization?
Man, I think it's just bringing in people that you trust. As far as the travel ball organization, the most instrumental part of that to me, other than obviously getting the kids, is the coaches. I mean, to be successful at travel ball, you have to have the right guys, leading it. We were lucky enough in our first year of freedom to really get some good coaches, and our players loved them. We had a ton of kids come back because they loved the coaching. We had a ton of coaches come back because we treated the coaches well, and I think that's huge also. So that would be my biggest piece of advice, because it starts at the top. It starts with the coaches. So treat your coaches right, and make sure it's someone you can trust, somebody somebody you can trust.
Yeah, I think
that would probably be my biggest piece.
I think we've heard a lot of people talking about growth or not growing too fast, and I think that's I think that goes hand in hand. Is like there sometimes is opportunities. You might have more kids who want to play than number of good coaches that you have access to, and the last thing you want to do is stick a coach out there who you maybe unfamiliar with or unsure of, or have don't have the full confidence of, and is it worth a couple extra pennies to have a guy who might risk your reputation? So
absolutely, and it's not, definitely not. And I've seen that. I know you have too. We all have. We've all seen that so many times. So that's kind of why I say don't do it. Find people you can trust, because that's what's going to help build your brand.
Yeah. What if I gave you the magic wand? What's one change that you think could be made to travel baseball that would have the biggest positive impact?
Oh man, I love travel baseball. First of all, let me start there. There's not a whole lot I would change. The one thing that kind of sticks out to me, especially in the last couple of years, is us as leaders and coaches of these organizations kind of better educating our players on kind of what level they're at. I'll elaborate on that a little bit.
Yeah.
So I'll be on Twitter or whatever, and I'll see a kid that's a high school senior, uncommitted, this time of year, uncommitted, no offers, no real looks, and they're posting their video on there, which they should be. They're posting their video on there, and they're tagging, every SEC coach in the nation.
Right, yeah. Mm-hmm.
So just kind of that education. My thing is, and what I'm really going to start hammering on this year, especially even in our younger teams, our freshmen and sophomores, is go watch college baseball. I mean, there's a ton of college baseball within 2 to 3 hours of where we're at, and I'm gonna, I urge everyone to go watch and see if you go watch D1 baseball. And see if you project there. If you honestly think you can project there, go watch D2 baseball, all the way down, JUCO, because it just seems like there's a lot of kind of unrealistic expectations, if that makes sense. So 100%. I think just better educating our guys on kind of where they fit, and it happens all the time. I mean, I have a ton of kids that are like, "Hey, coach, can you reach out to XYZ Division I school for me?" And I have to be able to have that conversation with them. Hey man, you're a great baseball player, but these rosters are already pretty much full. You're a class of 2022, and they're already recruiting 2024s. So to be able to have those tough conversations, I think that's kind of what I see in the travel ball landscape that may not be happening quite enough.
Yeah, I totally agree on all those things. Self-evaluation is of the utmost importance, and you can't do that until you've been out to enough games to compare yourself. And the reality is, most of these kids and most of their parents really haven't seen that many players.
Mm-hmm.
Great advice, man. Great advice. Any parting shots here? I know you got your work cut out ahead of you to get this Twin Cities up and running. You need to go find yourself 20, 25 guys, so you're ready for the fall, man. But gosh, I appreciate you coming on. Do you have any parting shots for coaches? Anything? Any last words you wanna say?
No, nothing in particular. I really appreciate you having me on, and if you're a kid out there listening, or a travel ball coach that has some uncommitted guys, in the area, definitely consider us. Reach out, check out our Twitter. You can check out our summer ball website and see what we're all about. But even if it's not us, there's a ton of great post grads out there, and I think that the post grad route in another few years is something that kids are gonna go to right off the bat, not kind of consider it a second option to college. I think people are going to start seeing that it's really beneficial.
It's going to be way more normal in a couple of years, for sure. There's no way around it. Brett, I appreciate you coming on. Texas Freedom, Twin City post grad. Man, you got a lot of good things going on out there in Texarkana, in the middle of nowhere, but maybe not so much in the middle of nowhere. Man, thank you so much for coming on. Hang on 1 second. I will stop the call, but I'm going to keep you on the line for one more second, man.
All right. Thanks for having me again.